Mr. President, you know, it's highly unusual for us to get an opportunity like this. So why did your campaign decide to make you available to a Cincinnati TV station tonight?
You know, this is actually what we do in every election, although this is, I guess, only my second as president. But, you know, one of the things that I always want to do, even up until the last minute, is just encourage people to vote. In Ohio, the polls don't close until 7:30. And as long as people arrive by 7:30, they're going to be able to vote. So even if the lines are long, stay in line and you'll be able to vote. And the reason I think this is just so important is because we've got two fundamentally different visions for how we move our country forward. The people of Ohio are going to have as much say about that direction as anybody. And regardless of who you're voting for, I think it's important to go out to the polls. Obviously, my hope is that there are going to be a number of people in Ohio and in the Cincinnati area that recognize that the work that we've done to get the economy moving again, to make sure that the auto industry is thriving, the work that we're doing to improve education and make college more affordable, all those issues that are so important to middle-class families and those who are working hard to get into the middle class, that will lead people to conclude that they want me to continue to serve as president over the next 4 years. But the most important thing, I think, is just to make sure that people participate in this process. This is what makes America the greatest country on earth, the fact that ultimately there's a government of and by and for the people.
Mr. President, you've been criticized by some for playing basketball this afternoon while Mitt Romney was still out campaigning. Does this mean you think you have the election wrapped up?
No, what it means is that having made sure that we are doing interviews all across the country over the last several hours, that it was important for me to get a little exercise and make sure that, since this may end up being a late night, that I am getting the kind of energy that I need, and hopefully also clearing out my throat a little bit that was getting a little hoarse. But this is going to be a close election. We know that. Ohio's going to be close, as many states are, and we're absolutely confident that we can win and will win if people turn out to vote. And I'm looking forward to making sure that everybody gets out to the polls, because if they do, then I think that we can have 4 years of strong economic growth. We can reduce our deficits in a balanced way. We can put people back to work, and we can start bringing manufacturing back here to the United States instead of seeing so many jobs shipped overseas.
Now, if you win, what can you do differently this time around to break the stalemate in Washington, especially on financial issues?
Well, I think that the American people, when you talk to them, understand that we went through an economic crisis. We had to take some emergency measures, but that it is very important for us to reduce our deficit in a responsible way. And the way we do that is to cut out programs we don't need. I've already cut $1 trillion out of our federal budget, spending that we couldn't afford. And I'm interested in working with Republicans to make sure that we do more, but also that we're going to have some additional revenue by having wealthy Americans pay a little bit more in taxes, going back to the rates we had when Bill Clinton was president. That's how you reduce a deficit in a balanced way while still being able to invest in things like education and research and development that are so critical for our long-term economic competitiveness. So, the message that voters send right now, I think, is going to be received in Washington, and that is we should not focus on, is this a Democratic idea or a Republican idea? We should focus on, is this an idea that helps ordinary families succeed? And I'll work with anybody of any party that is engaged in that important work. What I don't want to do is, for example, turn Medicare into a voucher program just to pay for another millionaire's tax cut. That, I think, is not the right way to grow the economy, and it's important that as we reduce our deficit, we do it in a way that's fair for everybody. And my hope is that we see Republicans thinking in that same way, and obviously how the vote goes today will have a lot to do with that.
If there was one key issue in this election, what do you believe it was?
Well, I think the key issue in this election is who's got a vision for growing the economy. And what I have been telling people over the last several weeks at the end of this campaign is our ideas and Governor Romney's ideas have been tested. The ideas that I'm putting forward are ideas that when Bill Clinton implemented back in the 90s created 23 million new jobs. The ideas that I've put forward have created 5.5 million new jobs over the last 32 months, which is a lot more jobs and a lot faster than were created under my predecessor. Governor Romney wants to return to the same ideas that haven't worked. And so we have actually tried both approaches, and I always believe that middle class out approach to growing the economy as opposed to a top-down approach to growing the economy not only benefits everybody more broadly, but also spurs on more economic growth over the long term.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. And we should mention the...
Carol,
Go ahead.
I appreciate it very much. Thanks for the opportunity. And again, whoever you're voting for, get out to the polls by 7:30. And if you're in line by 7:30, you're going to be able to vote. And if you need to know how to vote or find your polling place, you can always go to vote.barackobama.com.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Yes, and we should mention the Obama campaign has paid for that satellite time.